Hello lovelies and welcome to today's video. So this is a mixed media layout, 12 by 12 layout, and this was done for an online challenge for a cyber crop that was on Facebook this week, and this is a black and white challenge. Now I'm a very bright, very mixed media-y kind of person, so you'd think black and white would be a challenge for me. But I find that lately, with specific photos, these photos of my son playing soccer, I'm finding black and white's working a lot better to document them. Because they're usually really highly saturated and really bright, you've got the grass and then whatever colour he tends to be wearing, I struggle with what to do for these layouts. So recently I've been doing them in black and white and it's really making the photo pop. And, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So, lately I've been scrapbooking his soccer photos in black and white. Well, not the photo itself. So, I do a black and white background so that the photo really pops. So, what I'm starting with is just some modelling paste. I went to use my regular one, but it's all gluggy and gone yuck. So, I'm using the light modelling paste, which I once bought by accident from Liquitex. And this is a Stencil Girl stencil, I believe. I was getting the stencils for Stencil of the Month. And, yeah, this was one of them. So I decided to do this section here behind where my photo would be, so like a photo mat. And then I wanted a nice little cluster to anchor down to the bottom as well. So basically I just pulled out a bunch of my stencils and then picked one that I thought would work. And I thought this one worked because it's round. Yeah, I know, so original of me. And then I wanted to add some black ink, but I didn't want to spray because I really hate overspray. It bugs me and you don't get as much control with it. So I've thrown blobs on my page and then I'm going to attack it with water and let it move and splodge around. So see, there's the overspray I don't like. Even when you spray these with water, you get a little overspray, but not as much, obviously, as if I was to spray straight on with my black. So I'm just going back in a couple of times just to darken that up, because obviously when you add some water to the black, it dilutes and you get like a different shade, and I wanted it nice and dark. And then I've also done that to this section down the bottom. And then, of course, I'm going to add splatters. Always make sure your page is dry before you add splatters. Otherwise, it'll just bleed and spread and you won't get your nice crisp splatters. So what I'm using is actually a homemade kit that was sent to me by the lovely Steph. We decided to trade kits. So to keep ourselves amused while we were in isolation, we both made up a homemade kit for each other and then swapped them. So she should be getting hers from me very soon, and then this is what I got from her. Now there was some really cool stuff in here, including an embellishment soccer sticker set, which was really cool. So I've gone through this kit and I've just pulled out some of this paper that was on, it was just some text because I'm sticking with the black and white obviously, and I've matted my photo onto that. I've ripped some of my layers, some of my corners. Now when it's a big 12 by 12 sheet, I can rip them off, but then when I have the close edges, I can't rip, so it looks weird when I try and do it. So you'll notice sometimes I leave straight edges because of that reason. So you see what I mean? It just looks really weird when I try and rip when it's a small edge. I can't do it. And I'm not one of those people that likes those little tiny rips when they're close up and you can see like all the little chunks. I don't like that. I like the big long rips. But yeah, anyway, enough about my ripping. So now I'm going to put some more black behind this photo to make it pop from my texture paste background. I'm just using some tissue paper. This was actually on my desk, as is most things when I start scrapping. And I'm just using some double-sided tape to attach that. Now, when you're using tissue paper, if you're using it folded like me, you have to fold tape in between all the layers. But me, I get lazy and I use staples. So I just grab my stapler out and make sure that it's all stapled together. So there's my layers ready to go. I'm just going to trim it down a little bit because I really did want to see that mixed media and texture paste background. Now, as you can see, by putting, even though I've put the black ink spray on top of my modelling paste, you can still see the texture behind it, which is what I wanted. So this is where I use staples. I love staples. They're so nice and so easy. I tend to use staples a lot on boys' pages. 1, to adhere things, and 2, also because they make really great embellishments. So now I'm just going to adhere all this down. Now when I use mixed media on a background, if I'm sticking something to it, I tend to use wet glue, just because I find it works better. And then I'm going to try and weigh this down because my page is warping because I'm too impatient to flatten it out and dry it. So I'm just going to put something heavy on it. So this is that sticker pack I was telling you about. These are 3D stickers, and I'm just going through the pack to see if there was something that suited my black and white theme. And there was. The ball with the boots was pretty cool. So now I'm going to go through some of the other bits and pieces that were in this kit that she made for me, and I'm going to pull out anything that works with my theme and anything that works with my colour scheme. So basically I'm looking for anything black and white. So I find a few embellishments in this pack. I end up using this really cool big one here. Now this says, anyone can be cool, but awesome takes practice. Now I thought this worked well because this is my son practicing his soccer skills in the backyard, so I thought it worked quite well. He is a big soccer player. Very disappointed that the soccer season has been postponed thanks to all of this COVID happening, and yes, this was him practicing his skills in the backyard. So soccer season was meant to start on the Saturday, and the Tuesday before, they cancelled soccer, they cancelled training, everything got cancelled. So needless to say, he was very disappointed. He is a big soccer fan, a big soccer player. He's been playing since he was 6. And yeah, so he spends most afternoons in the backyard practicing his skills. And in this one, he's taking on his dad, one-on-one in the backyard. So I thought this would work really well for this picture. So now that I've put together my photo and my little cluster up there, I'm going to work on this cluster down the bottom. Now when I did the texture paste down here, I knew I wanted to have a little cluster down here, sort of to balance out my layout. So I'm just finding some more black and white pieces that work. I found this little journaling spot and also this U rock, and then like a little black and white arrow. So I'm going to turn this into a little cluster. So I'm just going to staple these two together. Like I said, I love using staples on boy layouts. 1, because it works as an adhesive, and 2, because it just adds an I find it works as an embellishment. It adds a little bit of a grungy feel to these layouts, which is what I do love. So I'm just going to glue this down here, and then I'm going to also I'm going to adhere down the arrow, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some foam behind it because I wanted to give this cluster some dimension. I just didn't want it all overlapping, so I without some dimension. So I just used a tiny bit of foam, and yeah, just made some dimension. I just use craft foam. I buy it from cheap shops in packs, and then I just cut it up and use my own adhesive because, you know, foam adhesive is expensive and foam sheets aren't. So I just cut off a little strip, stick it behind the arrows, and then I'm going to adhere that to my little cluster down the bottom here. And then I'm just going to try and find a way to make this star work too. I'm going to try and add it to the cluster somewhere. I move it around a bit, trying to decide where to put it, but it worked really well with my black and white, and I just like building on my clusters. So I'm going to end up putting it up here, but I'm also going to add some foam behind that too to give it some dimension. I really like adding dimension to my layouts, either behind my photo or behind certain bits of my clusters. It just makes everything not look so flat. And when you're using clusters, putting together clusters, it's always good to have some dimension in it so everything just doesn't look like it's stuck on top of each other. So that's why I tend to put little bits of foam behind little aspects of my clusters. So now I've just found some of my star enamel stickers. These are just some white ones, and I'm just adding them in a few areas into my clusters, tucking them in here and there. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to add some journaling to my little journaling spot with my favourite pen. This is a pen I actually got from Daiso, and I wish I could find them again because what I love most about it is it's that very narrow tip. It's a 0.38. I find it very hard to find this. It's a very, very fine tip, and I just love it so much, especially for doing my diddly borders because it's not too thick, it's not too dark, and I like journaling with it too because it's nice and thin. So it is my favourite pen. I only have 2 of them because I only bought the 2 at the time. So if I ever find them again, I'll be stocking up. So yeah, and I'm just going to add my journaling And then that's pretty much it for my layout. I don't add a title. I decide to use that big anyone can be cool as basically my title. So that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll be back real soon with a new one. Bye for now.